We just got some new iOS 17 leaks from the most reliable Apple leaker out there, finally giving us clarity on if we should even expect any worthwhile features and changes. So in this video, we're gonna dig deep into what we should expect to see from iOS 17, as well as my own personal wish list of features that I think would not only be awesome to have on my iPhone, but ones that are actually realistic in terms of being implemented by Apple. So let's get started. Now you probably know that iOS 16.4 has finally been released with a bunch of new features, which I'm gonna get into later in this video, but we're gonna focus first on iOS 17, which is gonna be officially revealed in June at Apple's WWDC event. Now, getting into that huge iOS 17 leak, it's actually coming from Mark Gurman, chief correspondent at Bloomberg. He said that Apple was initially thinking of calling iOS 17 a tune-up release, where they focused more on fixing bugs and improving performance than adding new features. Now, the reason for that was because iOS 16 was an ambitious update with a lot of changes and new features, but the problem was that it was very buggy and still is to this day. However, later on in the development process, they decided to change the strategy and bring some new, nice-to-have features to iOS 17, even if it lacks big improvements like what we got last year. So the goal of the new iOS 17 software, codenamed Dawn, is to basically bring several of the most requested features from Apple users to iOS. Finally. Now, before I get into what that could be, I want to point out that ironically, there are a lot of people on Twitter and on Apple-focused forums like Mac Rumors who would actually prefer a tune-up software update to fix all of the bugs that we currently have, and they'd prefer that over a bunch of new flashy features that look and sound cool but aren't very useful in the real world. They just want it to work reliably without all these bugs. And in case you don't really know what issues and bugs are still happening to this day, here are a few examples of weird glitches and problems that people are having, and I've actually experienced some of these as well, including text being overlaid over other text and trying to swipe but not going back to the home screen. That actually happened to me as well, and it was very, very annoying. Now, to be honest, my point of view is that these bugs should have been fixed by now, and they should always get fixed within the same OS year instead of relying and hoping on a full iOS release to fix bugs. Now, of course, iOS 16.4 just came out with new features and changes like new emoji, Safari web push notifications, voice isolation for calls, order tracking widget with purchases using Apple Pay, new changes to podcasts, which are nice, and of course, a bunch of other bug fixes. But now, let's move on to what we should expect from iOS 17, which will include several of the most requested features from Apple users. So I'm gonna get into some of the ones I saw online that I think make sense for Apple to implement. The first one is adding a pause video button, because right now, your only choice is to stop the video, wait a little bit, and start a brand new video. So if you're at some kind of event or some kind of race or something else and you're trying to record and you wished you could pause, you can't. You end up with a bunch of separate clips that you have to go in and edit them together if you want a full video of something happening. Here's another one I saw today, which was actually very interesting. It's a "why are you calling" feature. So basically, when you call somebody, you can type in a little message, and then when someone receives the call, they'll get that message saying, "Hey, I'm calling about this," or "I want to talk about this." That way they see the call, they know what to expect, and that could avoid some people just kind of ignoring calls because they don't know what's happening, they don't have time. That's a really cool idea, and I feel like Apple could definitely implement something like that. It would definitely be new. Another one that I see online is the calculator app, which absolutely sucks. So many people complained about it, and it stayed the same for so many years, it is so incredibly limited. And another big one that I saw online that makes a ton of sense is adding features to the dynamic island, because we've had it for a few months on the 14 Pro and Pro Max, and it's still a little bit limited. And seeing as the new iPhone 15 models coming later this year are also getting rid of the notch and getting that dynamic island, I think it makes sense for Apple to finally start adding more and more features and make it more and more useful. So I definitely think Apple is adding that later this year with iOS 17. Another one I saw which actually annoys me is that right now you can't separate the ringtone and alarm volume sliders. It adjusts at the same time with the volume buttons. Apple needs to allow you to change them separately, which would be so useful so you don't have issues with ringtones and alarms being crazy loud or whatever else. And another one that I completely agree with is adding numbers to the top row of the keyboard on iOS 17, because whenever I test another Android phone and that phone comes with a full row of numbers without having to hit the whole number button, get up to it, it is just so convenient compared to Apple's solution. So I wish Apple would add that as well. And now let's get into my own personal wish list of the features that I really want Apple to add with iOS 17 and the upcoming iPhone 15 Pro and regular models. The first one is for the Pro models out there, and that's to do with the 48 megapixel sensor, which forces you to use ProRAW. I wish Apple would just allow you to shoot in HEIF or JPEG right on your iPhone, and they definitely should be able to do that because you can use the Shortcuts app to convert any ProRAW photo into HEIF. You can even set it up to happen automatically, but Apple just doesn't allow you to do it. So I wish later on this year they will unlock that feature, and that way we can all save a good amount of storage space on our iPhones. Now this next one has to do with the iPhone 15 Pro model, because we did get some leaked CADs of the design changes, and from what we know right now, the iPhone 15 Pro is getting rid of the mute switch that we've had for 16 years and replacing it with a new mute button. But to me, it seems like Apple is actually adding an action button like what we have on the Apple Watch Ultra. So in that case, I'm hoping that Apple's gonna release some software updates that will help better utilize that action button. Now, I don't know if it's coming right when Apple announces iOS 17 or if it's waiting until the iPhone 15 Pro launch, but I think Apple's gonna release some software features that have to do with what you can do with that action button. Now, another good option that I saw on Twitter was that the action button could actually be a focus mode cycle button where you click it and you can cycle between your focus modes automatically with a push of a button without having to actually open it up, go to the control center, nice and easy, and then you can press and hold for the actual mute switch functionality. I think that could make a whole lot of sense. Now, with that said, what are your most requested iOS 17 features? Let me know down in the comment section below, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one. Definitely check out one of those two right over there, including the potential April event leaks video. Definitely watch that. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.